All right, man. Thank you for jumping on.
No
Appreciate it.
worries.
I know you're a busy guy, and you've definitely got better things to do, like signing up clients instead of doing this for me. But I do really appreciate it, and I think what's really nice is there's going to be loads of people who will watch this, and they're going to be in the position you were in before you kind of took the jump and decided to join us in AdvisorOS. So it is really appreciated. I'm sure a lot of people who watch this will really appreciate that you took the time to give a bit of feedback. So we'll jump straight into the questions, my man.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's watching this, who doesn't know you, can you quickly say who you are, what stage of your career you're at, and how long you've been advising?
Yeah, so I'm James Bowers. I'm part of Sovereign Wealth, which is a partner practice of St James's Place. I started off in the industry about 9 years ago, and I started off as a technical paraplanner. And then 2 years into the job, after I completed all the exams, I went in becoming a self-employed partner of the business to advise clients. It's been 5 years since then. It's been a lot of lessons along the way, and I built up a nice, sizable client book portfolio. I think coming into last year, start of last year, I was getting really stuck just with my time management and not being able to bring in the quality of leads that I need to carry on growing my business. It really sort of just become a little bit stale.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a good summary, to be honest, James, because obviously I knew you prior to this, which is really nice to say, and the progress you've made over your career is phenomenal compared to I think your average advisor. And what's nice, and I don't want to kind of jump into this too early because it's a really good point, but you were already doing really well. You weren't a advisor in your first year with no experience. You'd already done really well as an advisor, and I think the big thing, when I first started speaking to you about this was it was taking it to that next level, right? And that's what we're
Yeah,
doing and continue to do.
that's it. I think it's hard for younger advisors. This is certainly a profession where a few grey hairs on your head help. But what helped me originally was actually having the technical background. I was very good technically with understanding, you know, financial circumstances, how people can get to their objectives, obviously within a compliant way. Really had to sort of boost up the skills to being in front of clients, which is just sort of completely different. And I'm hoping that I've got to that stage. But certainly over the last year, Dan, you've helped me with a few phrases that have helped new clients on board and get over the line.
Amazing, man. Well, before joining AdvisorOS, right, what were you struggling with the most in your business or career that wasn't working, or you felt stuck, or at a certain point, maybe?
Yeah, I think the first thing was really just time management. I was dealing far too much time on clients that weren't paying enough fees. Um, and also I didn't have the systems and processes in place to be able to utilize my time effectively. Secondly, I just wasn't bringing in the right level of client. There's been a lot of changes over the past few years within our industry where it's just more expensive for us to service clients. So we've had to increase the bar in terms of having a client with more funds under management. And actually, I think that we can give a lot more value back to those sort of people.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. What did that cost you in terms of income, confidence, or momentum on reflection?
Well, my income was just, like I said, stale. It was. I didn't.
Like plateauing
I did. Yeah, it
almost.
was plateauing. Yeah, I didn't really see how I was going to grow from here because my time was taken up. I couldn't bring in any more clients on. I was. I didn't have any time to actually just change the systems and processes to free up more time. So I was stuck in a bit of a rut. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I think everyone, like I've experienced that, and it's hard because
Yeah.
you've got to try and find the key to unlocking that next level, right? And that can happen in loads of ways, not just like revenue or FUM. It's like when you get stuck where you've got, say, too many clients and you feel like you're at capacity, you're like, well, where do I go from here? I think there's a number of ways, like a lot of advisors kind of plateau at a certain point. And that's why I think a lot of advisors hover around the 50 to 100K mark, right? Which is obviously certainly isn't you. So I think that's a really, really good point to make, about that like, trying to find those breakthroughs, because you need more than one. There's constant breakthroughs you have to make, because you solve one problem and then you kind of fall into the next. So you're trying to get more clients on board, and then you do that, and then you've got a capacity issue. And if you have a capacity issue and you solve that, then you have issues probably with a team. So no, that's really, really, a really good insight. How did that make you feel about your future at the time?
Um, I think it was a little bit scary, because I was, for the first time, feeling the state of plateau. I've never felt this before, because in the last 5 years it's just been exponential growth. So it was a very uncomfortable feeling, and I did not want to sit at the same level that I was at the previous year. I want to be a growing business, and there's that old phrase, if you're not growing, you're dying. So I knew I needed to change something.
Okay, I think that's it. I'm just going to leave that there. That's perfect, because it's so true. So what made you decide to join AdvisorOS rather than just carry on as you were?
I think, Dan, you just probably came at the right time, in terms of letting me know that you were setting up this this course. I was looking for a coach. I just felt like I needed some outside help to really peer into my business and see where I'm being inefficient, and what I could change to stimulate that growth again. So that, I think you just got in touch at the right time. I think I saw a post from you, and it resonated. And I knew you beforehand. I knew what sort of figures you've done. I really wanted to learn from someone who's been there, been through it all, and done it. So that's why I joined.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. What would you say then to someone who's sitting on the fence right now? So they have kind of stumbled across the coaching program and thought, like, this is an opportunity to maybe break through like you did. What would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence, kind of a bit unsure? Because there's obviously a commitment, from a cost perspective.
Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier today, actually. I think there was a few months of me researching, who could be the best coach for me.
I remember this, actually. I remember you saying about
there was a yeah, and I think I went on like the Dan Priestley. I think he's got a team of different coaches, doesn't he? I went on a few of them, and I just never made the first step. And I feel that when there's like a cost implication, you feel a level of uncomfort, and you feel like you're also treading into the unknown a bit. And when you've got those things, there are obviously signals for you to sort of run away or put it off, but actually it should be a signal for you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Put
I love that. I'll use
some
that
money towards something that's hopefully going to benefit you. So yeah, and I'll talk about this later, but I think it has been invaluable. Like, I wish you got in touch a bit sooner. Or I saw you posted a little bit sooner. And I wish I probably took the step into getting a sort of coach or being on a course a little bit sooner. But don't put it off. You need that level of uncomfort.
I think that's such a testament to you, James, and why you're already successful as an advisor before you joined AdvisorOS. Because what's really interesting is you would naturally think there's a lot of new advisors who join this, and don't get me wrong, if you're a new advisor and you join AdvisorOS, you're going to save yourself years by going through this, but you're already successful as an advisor because you're used to putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? And that's the nature of the job as well, right? And I think if you stay comfortable, you're never going to change. Normally, when you're uncomfortable, it's because change is going to happen, right? And that's what, and like you said, you need to run towards it. You know, if you want to see a change in your life, you've got to almost have skin in the game and make those sort of commitments. And hats off to you, you know, you did, and the results you've had since you've been working with us speak for themselves. Let alone not just financial, but in other aspects of your life.
I just think as well, that I also questioned myself back at the time. I was like, when was the last time I invested in myself?
Yeah,
For a lot, particularly like just learning things again. And for a lot of people, that would have been probably the last time they spent money on something was like one of the RO courses to pass your financial advice exams.
yeah.
So I didn't see this as a cost. I saw it as more of an investment.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to put it because the best investment you can make is in yourself, right? And we do
Yeah.
that for a living. You know, we're telling people to invest in stock markets or whatever, but really the best ROI you would always get is yourself, and it's permanent. You know, everything you've learned. You know, you're coming up to a year now that you've been working with us, right? Everything you've learned is
Yeah.
permanent. You know, skills, tools, frameworks, experience that's been shared not just by myself but by other advisors that are doing different things in the community. So yeah, I think that's some really good points you made there. And leads me straight on to the next one. You know, what's changed for you since joining AdvisorOS?
So much. It's been a seismic shift in terms of just getting a lot more time back for myself. So I think one of the first things that we did was we looked at, I think it was called a time value grid. So I looked
Yeah,
at where I was spending my time, and we critically analysed whether I needed to be doing certain things and where there was just wasted time. Just a prime example was like I was driving to so many client meetings, and there were hours of the week just taken up with that, where I could be, prospecting, doing calls, doing other meetings.
yep.
And I think you were pretty brutal, Dan. You were pretty
That's what I'm
brutal.
gonna
You held
do.
me to account, and you told me, look, you just can't be doing any sort of face-to-face meetings. You'll have the odd case where it's there's someone who just physically can't do it online, but no, all of your meetings have to be online. And oh my god, that has saved so much time. It's meant that I've been able to do more prospecting, so getting better leads in, um, and also just think of the overall strategy of the business. So there are other things that you've helped us on. So getting time back. Number one, systems and processes as well, just making things a little bit leaner. The use of AI and technology, so that meetings are booked in for me. Replying to emails, communications to clients is a lot more efficient. And then the main thing was, now I've got this time back, what do I do with it? Firstly, it's the strategy. Who's my niche client going to be? That was so important. I've never ever done that, and I've really seen the value in looking at your niche and understanding what their problems are and their um, what they're needing out of life, because then that allowed me to create a good marketing strategy to start approaching those leads. Um, I can't remember what point I'm on. Third point, maybe.
Yeah,
So
you're
many.
flying through them. Brilliant.
Um, the marketing, really opening up my brain to what's possible on social media. How to get in touch with people, the simple phone calls I need to be making to existing clients and getting referrals, building up professional connections. Um, I've heard of stuff that some of the main networks teach you on courses, and it's nothing compared to the stuff that I've learned on here. It's original, it's new, it's young.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
in this new age of financial advice. So this course is like totally adapted to the new age of working.
I think a really nice point, James. You kind of we can segue into that as useful for people to know is you've now been in AdvisorOS for coming up to a year, right? And what's really interesting is it's taking shape in real time. The community's taking shape, the topics we cover, and it's not static. So where a traditional course or some things that people could learn from would be probably a little bit more static. Um, we're discussing stuff as the industry's changing, but also as I'm applying stuff in my own business as an advisor and I'm learning,
Yeah.
right? So I'm
Yeah.
coming to you guys almost every week and saying, this is what I'm now working on. This is a problem I'm trying to solve. Obviously, the hot topics at the minute is obviously AI. I know it's cliche, but we're all trying to kind of bring that into our businesses and then be well ahead of your average wealth manager, which without a doubt we are. So it's really nice because it's more dynamic, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd openly admit, because I think it's useful for anyone who's watching this. You're one of the first people into AdvisorOS, right? And
Mhm.
you've helped mold and shape this community. And as we're now adding a hell of a lot more structure, content, resources. I've literally this week been working on a whole hub and like an intranet for us, which is due to be released soon. So it just means it will solidify a lot of this stuff as well. So where there's been these learnings in the community, we can actually embed that into this intranet, whether it's scripts, chat GPT prompts, rules around like diary management, time, energy management. So I think that was some really good points you made there.
Uh-huh.
What's the biggest shift you think you've made professionally or personally?
Um, I certainly think it's coming back to the time element, but it's just respecting my time and just feeling more of a higher value financial advisor than I previously was. So I'm being, a lot more stricter of what I do and I don't do. I'm being a lot more stricter on what sort of clients I'm taking on and which ones I'm not. So there's I just think a lot more respect for myself. What comes with respect is confidence,
Yeah.
and then that shines through, you know, with the clients and the prospects that you meet. So it's
Yeah,
just generally being a
you're
lot
bound to
more.
convert more, get better clients because they will sense your
Yeah,
confidence, your authenticity around that.
yeah, 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 and I just feel more confident as well with the systems and processes. Like there is definitely with me and my team now, there is set systems to follow, and I just feel confident in them. So that if I need to hand anything over, I know it's going to get done. I think a big problem that I had previously was I was a control freak, and I
Yeah.
wanted control on every aspect of the planning process. But now I've just got the confidence to trust other people because I've been able to systematically put in processes.
I think what's really nice, I was going to ask you for a few examples, and you've given some, but I want to
Yeah,
actually touch on what you mentioned earlier, right? Because this is a tangible example. So
yeah,
it ties in with exactly what you were saying. For anyone who doesn't know kind of your story, when we started speaking, you were driving around, all over the country, seeing clients like your typical advisor, right? And
yeah,
what's interesting is there's a limiting belief with a lot of advisors. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all have limiting beliefs, but there's loads of limiting beliefs we're blasted through since we've been doing obviously the coaching together. And one of those limiting beliefs was the belief that you needed to drive around and see clients in person, right? You need
yeah,
to go to the houses because psychologically you think they might not come to the office or they might not come on Zoom or my conversion might drop or I might not make as much money, they might have a hit in revenue. So the natural belief is, I have to be doing this because everyone else does it. 99% of advisors do it. And we blasted through that limiting belief as to why you don't need to do it. And obviously, I was proof in the pudding. I told you, like,
yeah,
I never go out to see clients. Maybe the odd exception, if it's that elderly lady that I really want to help or super high net worth individual that I've made that agreement with. But now, I'm even, as you know, strict when it comes to that because I just don't have the time. And it is a limiting belief in the sense of you are absolute proof that it's a myth, it's a belief that you need to do that because you've now had your record. In 2025, you had your record year, right, in terms of the revenue you brought in, and you did it in a year where you stopped driving around seeing clients, and you got
I
your
know.
time back. So time
Dan,
back,
I'm pissed off now if I drive to a
yeah.
client meeting
But so you should
because
be,
I know I've wasted time and I
yeah,
know what that time could have been used on.
yeah.
So yeah, it's completely changed my mindset on that.
And I love that, and I think that's the really important thing to acknowledge. Part of my job and this coaching is to blast through these limited beliefs about how we should do stuff because our industry is very traditional. It's very dated. You think you need to do things a certain way because every other advisor or wealth management firm has done it. And as you know, there's some things we're working on inside the coaching. I don't want to kind of put too many spoilers out there. That over the next few months are going to be game changing, I think, for advisors. And we're moving away from the conventional model, I think, of way how you traditionally would have given advice. So I'm sure, over the next 6 months we're going to blast through some more, and there's some good stuff in store. And I'll leave
Oh
it at
yeah,
that.
and obviously, yeah, Dan. I think just another thing that just springs into my mind is that, and I don't want to give too much away that's on the course, but there is, a particular thing that I really struggled to get over in terms of mentality on reaching out to prospects. I was a little bit nervous in doing it, felt a little bit uncomfortable in doing it,
Yeah,
but in our usual weekly call, you put me on the spot and asked me if I'd done it. And I
yeah,
hadn't. I hadn't done what you asked.
yeah, yeah,
And you fully held me to account on this. And you said, look, turn off your mic, turn off your video, and go and do 20 of those things right here, right now.
yeah,
I was put on the spot and I did it. And you know what? Like, again, mentality shift. Like, it wasn't that bad.
yeah, yeah.
And because now I've done it, I'm no longer nervous about doing it. And then later I saw the results from it.
Yeah,
So,
I
you
love
know,
that. 'Cause I know exactly what you're talking about, and I love that you leaving a bit of mystery there, because people are going to be like, "What was this guy doing?" So one day, they're going to have to come around and ask James Bowers how he's achieved these incredible figures, and what was he mysteriously doing during that hour when he was on the call.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's a really really good point. What This is quite a difficult question. So what's the value of AdvisorOS that you didn't expect to get when you joined?
Oh, I'd probably say the community. So I think our profession is a very lonely job. Even though we are meeting clients every single day, we've always got to retain that certain professionality about ourselves. So you don't really chat amongst peers who are experiencing the same problems and issues that you're facing. And meeting once a week, it's just been really helpful. Just from, again, mindset thing, mental health thing as well, you could say.
Yeah,
It's just great to just get stuff off your chest, and everybody else has experienced the same thing, and they've either got so they've got ways to overcome it, or it's just helpful in discussing it. So I've just enjoyed being part of a group each week.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I really look forward to making this even better. We're putting a lot of emphasis on improving the community, communication, resource in that community, and obviously having new people come in to AdvisorOS and add to that community, which is really good. So I'm going to come on to that a little bit later. But what do people not see, do you think, from the outside, that's made the biggest difference?
I mean, there's so much. I mean, I think, yeah, when you're looking in on like social media, you're understanding that this is a course, this is going to increase your revenue. You don't understand the effort that it takes to get there, and there is a process that you need to follow. So I was completely unaware that I really had to go into a lot of like my own market research. What is the best way of going about that?
Like when you found your niche, for example, you put a lot of work into
Exactly,
that,
finding my
and then
niche.
you
Yeah,
the benefit
yeah.
of it. Yeah,
And then also the marketing strategy and how to do like the testing, whether to see it's working or not. Being able to actually the technology behind it. Christ, like I had no idea some of this technology existed, just to keep track of your prospects and leads and
yeah,
have it all automated in the background, so you're not touching it during the day.
yeah.
You do not see that level of technicality from the outside. So there's so much there. It's yeah, quite hard to pinpoint one thing, but there's a lot of technical things that you need to learn to be able to get to certain places.
I think it's like you don't know what you don't know, right? And then there's so many frameworks, systems, processes, tools we use within AdvisorOS that it's completely new, and then new ones come out all the time where we're working on something else or trying to find a better way. In fact,
Yeah.
tomorrow's weekly session that we're going to do, which obviously is tomorrow, there we're talking through a certain type of tool, should we say, that we're going to look to adopt to help with lead generation. Right, we're going to walk
Yeah.
through that in terms of setting up, how to best use it, kind of like case studies, scripts, the lot. And I think that's a really good representative, almost example of the continuous involvement of the tech, the AI that we're building in, and people probably don't really see that from the outside. They could just think, I'm going to chat with these guys, and that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think you've got to put the work in, but then you are literally providing us with all the technical stuff, the phrases, the prompts for the AI. So, and that would take months to work that out yourself. Um, so again, that's a massive time saver if you've literally got it out of the box ready for us. You still got to
Yeah,
put the
but
work in on the front end, but it just becomes a lot
I
easier.
think that's important for you, for the important point you make there. And I might even jump to a question I was going to ask
Yeah.
towards the end, but I'll ask it now because it. No, I'll save it. No, I'll ask it now because it's most relevant now. So, on that note, I think you've kind of touched on it. Who is AdvisorOS not for?
Um, it's not
Because you
for
have to put the work in,
no.
right? We give
Yeah,
you all the tools and the toolkit.
it's
You've got to
literally
put
what
the
I just
work in.
said. Yeah, yeah. So I think one of the first modules that you cover is obviously saving time, because then you do need the time to put the work into working out what your approach is going to be and the marketing for who your niche is going to be and understanding that niche. Um, it's not for people who aren't able to step outside of their comfort zone as well. There have been times where I've been perhaps a little bit reluctant to do that, but again, helped me come across that, and sometimes I need that little gentle nudge to go ahead and do something. But if you've always been quite, struggling with getting uncomfortable, contacting clients, putting yourself out there, this course is not for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. What's the caliber of people in the AdvisorOS community like?
Like, I actually thought when I joined, it would be quite new advisors, inexperienced ones, but everybody is experienced doing six figures initial fees, but they're all the same as me, really, where they've hit that plateau,
Yeah.
or they're just wanting to take their business to the next level. So
See, I find that, I
that
find
was a
it fascinating.
surprise, actually.
Yeah, even myself, James. When I helped obviously develop AdvisorOS and kind of almost I describe it as being the architect behind it, right? I naturally thought the typical person joining us will be in the first few years of their career, probably
Yeah,
less experienced than you, nowhere near the FUM under management you've got, nowhere near, not necessarily breaking through the 100K mark. And it's surprising that I don't think there's any one advisor who is in AdvisorOS who earns under 100K,
yeah,
who's got, for example, less than like 10, 20 million funds under management. These are advisors who are experienced, who are doing probably in the top 20% of advisors in the country already.
yeah,
And yet they joined AdvisorOS to go to that next level, which is really, really interesting, I think. And it also, the fact that everyone's getting so much value out of it says a lot as well, because I think there is those limitations and those thresholds which I've on my own journey struggled with, where I've got to a certain point. I'm like, now how do I get past this point? Because I'm hitting these roadblocks and I've been trying to figure it out. It's been one of the parts that I've absolutely loved over the last year of doing this. It's like seeing other people overcome the problems that took me a long time sometimes to solve, and then getting better and better, and now like creating like even more structure this year to it. It's just brilliant because there's so much out there for everyone, and it's such a difficult job. And like you said,
yeah,
and this comes up to my next question, really, it can be a really lonely job, especially the more you become successful as an advisor. You have more pressure, you have more clients, and I think that can then be even more lonely than when you're a new advisor. Maybe the company's been a bit more hands-on with you, and then when you're more experienced, you're kind of out in the world, left to your own devices, and you're like, right, like now what, right? So this leads me on nicely. So how important, you kind of answered this earlier, but I'll ask it anyway, but you might answer it in a slightly different way. So how important is the peer group been inside the community for you?
yeah. It's huge because you've got other people who are going through the same things as you. You're going through the same process, and it's useful to hear just different ideas or different approaches people have taken. The overarching, modules are the same for everybody, but we all have our own different niches, different types of businesses. So it's just useful to see how they're fitting it in within their own business.
And you answered the question earlier about who is this not for, but who is this absolutely for?
It's for financial advisors that want to take their business to the next level. Like I keep saying this, you might have reached a plateau and you're struggling to find ways of just turning a gear to get yourself to the place that you want to be, and you're happy to become a little bit sort of insightful, look at yourself, be very critical as well, and you're happy to be critical upon yourself, and you're open to change. You got to be open to change.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think having like you need to be open-minded coming into this, and like you said, willing to be a bit uncomfortable to learn. But the great thing is, we hold your hand through it all. You've got other advisors who are on the same journey, sharing the same experiences of you, and it also adds accountability, because if there's other people in the community who are doing really well, they adopt the processes, systems, they listen to the advice we're giving, and you don't, you're like, shit, these guys are getting results. Like you're great and a shining example, James, of one of the people who have, I think, in my opinion, the most success out of AdvisorOS, because you have constantly turned up in every sense. I don't just mean physically. And you follow the advice, you take it on board, you implement, execute, and not everybody does that. Some people can just turn up and not necessarily follow through, and then it's a waste, right? The investment they've made in themselves. So I think you made some really good points there.
But I think, like you said as well, the top 20% of advisors are probably in this course. And again, that's probably a mindset thing. To be in the top 20%, you've got to be open for change. You've got to look at this as an investment, not a cost to you. So I think, if anyone's looking at this and you want to be part of the top 20% or higher top 1%, you've got to be parts of these sort of courses. Or
and I think
have a coach. Have a coach there that's able to put you in the right direction.
Well, I think if anyone's ever in the position you're in, right, you've got to ask, what did that person do to be in that position? And I have my own mentors, always have, and I invest so heavily in myself to this day, and probably will never stop. And a lot of people who are going to come into AdvisorOS are going to want to be in the position you're in now, James, let alone where you're going to be in a year or two. And it's simple, do what James did, do what Dan did, invest in yourself, find a good mentor. So my honest advice, even if someone didn't join AdvisorOS, is find someone, who is where you want to be. Ideally, it makes sense to do it in someone in your industry, of course, and that's probably why you landed on us. But yeah, I think that's...
How many successful entrepreneurs and CEOs have a mentor or a coach?
Yeah.
Probably all.
Virtually all of them, past a certain level. You have your normal kind of business owners who are in their town, and probably, again, they plateau, and they might not have someone, and they've found a certain niche or industry and they've done okay. But the people who are highly successful all have multiple mentors or invest so heavily in themselves, whether it's reading, the right sort of coaching or courses, for example, which obviously this is like a blended one. So it's so true, and a great point. Last few to end on, then last question to end on, then I've got 3 rapid fire ones for you to mix things up. So if someone's watching this and is a serious advisor who wants to level up, what would you say to them?
I'd say just join the course and you'll find out how much value it would give.
It can be that simple.
Don't hesitate, please.
Yeah, just go for it. So this you've already gone into the rapid fire round that I'm going to go through. So these
I don't think there's
need to
anything more I need to say on that, though, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think you answered it perfectly. You don't need to say any more than that. Just do it basically, and don't look back. Like, take it to the next level. So I want, if you can do the short, punchiest answers you can do to these 3 questions, and we'll rattle through them. Right? So you ready?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Just a second. Hang on.
That's all right.
Okay. Yeah.
So short, punchy answers, rapid fire round. So AdvisorOS in one sentence.
Phenomenal.
Amazing. One word to
Just one
describe.
word.
That's fine. This is actually one word. So
I can do a sentence. Advisor, it's Christ. You're asking me for rapid fire here. AdvisorOS, honestly, it's got all the tools in the toolbox to make your business, your financial advice business, go to the next level.
unbelievable. One word to describe the experience.
I'll use phenomenal.
We can use that for everyone. And biggest win
Yeah.
since joining. Biggest win since joining.
Getting time back, having respect for myself and my own business, and I've grown my business.
That says everything because I said biggest win and you named wins. So you've done a great job
Yeah.
there. Honestly, James, it was more than a pleasure getting your feedback and doing this with you today because it's actually so nice to also hear it, regardless of passing this on to other people who can actually see this. And there's going to be people who might have sat on the fence, will watch this, and there'll be people you're going to meet in the future who are going to have their lives changed because me and you took the time to do this. So I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate the kind words, and it's nice to know we're going in the right direction with AdvisorOS, and it will only get better in 26. We're going to absolutely smash it compared to the last year. Now we've kind of gone through that first year of kind of almost like beta testing in a way, like any business would do. And your feedback.
Yeah. And, yeah. I think I've given feedback along the way, and you've been really responsive to it. So what started off as quite basic with some really good content in the first 1 or 2 months has just been developed into something that's so much more worthwhile. I don't know if it's between you and I, Dan, but I'm considering as well partaking in another year of this.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to get left behind and missing out on any of the new content and
Yeah,
changes.
well, you've got a bit of time left in this first in your kind of first year, right? And it's my job to prove to you that there is enough value over the next year for you to carry on because we should make this so good. AdvisorOS needs to be so good that people want to be on this for the rest of their career because it's essential to their growth and getting better every single year, getting more time back with family, friends, having a business that runs slicker, more efficiently, but also making a lot more money and obviously having a better life overall. So that's my responsibility and the way I'll carry James, and I'm going to make sure that we're obviously strapped in for another year and do everything I can to deliver for you. So thank you so much for being a pleasure to work with, obviously, over the last year as well, man. And I appreciate you taking the time today.
That's all right. That's all good. No, thank you.
You're most welcome. Take care, my man. Speak soon.
All right. Cheers then. Bye. Bye.